Well, welcome to our discussion of verbals. A verbal is an action verb that has been modified slightly so that it doesn't exactly function like a verb. Rather, it functions like something else. Most notably, a verbal is an action verb that might function and appear to be a noun, or as an infinitive, which could be a noun, an adjective, or adverb. And the third category is that of participles, which are all adjectives. We'll discuss each of these in turn. First, let's look at gerunds. It is a verbal. It's an action verb, really. We've added an ing ending to it, and now it functions like a noun. For example, sentence number 1, swimming is good exercise. Swimming is simply the subject of the sentence. It is normally an action verb, but in this case it isn't. It's functioning like a noun. Swimming in a pool is good exercise. Here we've simply added a few additional words, and the gerund now becomes a gerund phrase. Swimming in a pool is called a gerund phrase. That whole thing is subject and is acting like a noun. Here's another one. Writing 5-paragraph essays is important in English classes. Here we have a gerund phrase. It's quite long. Writing 5-paragraph essays is important in English classes. It is a gerund phrase. We could get by with just the gerund. Writing is important in English classes. That's okay too. But notice that ing ending at the end of an action verb changes how it works in a sentence. Second broad category is that of infinitives. In this case, we're going to add the word to before an action verb. And it will usually function like a noun. Example number 1, do you want to win the race? And here we can see that to win the race is an infinitive phrase used as an object in the sentence. Notice the to win. Do you want to win the race? Could we simply say, do you want to win with a question mark? Possibly, yeah. Do you want something would function as an object again, yeah. Example 2, father decided to drive his car to New York. Here we see the to again, to drive, there's an action verb. So to with the action verb becomes an infinitive. And now we might think that he is driving, and that's probably true, but where the important part in this sense is the decision, the fact that he decided to drive. So the infinitive phrase is used as a direct object in this case. There's a note there that in some cases infinitives can function as adjectives or adverbs also. Here's a quick comparison of gerunds with infinitives. Notice the list of gerunds here. They're all action verbs: swimming, hoping, telling, eating, dreaming. And with that ing ending, these can be used in a sentence as noun equivalents. Infinitives are very, very similar. In every case, however, they are preceded with the word to. We'll look at some more examples. The next category is that of participles. And here we're going to take an action verb and we're going to add either an ing ending or an ed ending and cause it to act like an adjective. When that happens, it becomes a participle. Here's an example. There's an old expression, just let sleeping dogs lie. That's an idiomatic expression. And the dog may be sleeping, but that's not the point of this sentence. Sleeping is a participle that functions like an adjective because sleeping describes dogs. Sleeping, dogs, lie. Here's another one. Shivering from the cold, comma, Roger immediately went into the house. Here we got a participial phrase. The participle is shivering. There's an action verb, shiver. We put ing on it, shivering. makes it a participle. And since it's shivering from the cold, we now have a participial phrase. This up here is just in sentence 1 is simply a participle. Here we have a participial phrase. Functions pretty much. Here are some examples of gerunds. Writing is an exchange of ideas. Writing in this case is a gerund, and it is a noun functioning as the subject of that sentence. Writing implies a certain amount of action, but in this case it is the subject. Dawn's favorite activity is reading. Reading is the gerund, and it is a predicate noun because activity and reading are the same thing. The activity, of course, is the subject, is a linking verb, reading is a predicate noun, and it's a gerund. Number 3, swimming laps is the most relaxing activity in the world. Okay, swimming laps is actually a gerund phrase because the word laps makes it a phrase, but swimming is a gerund acting as a noun and as the subject of this sentence. How's it about this one? Filing papers can give you a paper cut, which hurts your fingers, I guarantee. And in this case, filing papers is a gerund phrase. Filing is the gerund. And it functions as a noun and the subject of this sentence. Number 5, her occupation is writing. Writing is a gerund, and it's functioning as a noun, but more specifically, it's functioning as what is known as a predicate noun. Occupation is a subject, is a linking verb, writing is a predicate noun. Writing and occupation are the same thing. It's simply writing renames occupation. To describe it, it renames it. This one is an interesting case. Reading is relaxing. Reading is a gerund, functioning as a noun and as a subject of a sentence. Is a linking verb. Now, linking verbs are always followed by either a predicate noun or a predicate adjective. In this case, it's actually a predicate adjective because relaxing describes reading. So in this sentence, we have a gerund up here in the subject, and we have a participle, which is acting as an adjective. Here are some examples of infinitives. Number 1, she plans to write a novel. To write, you see the infinitive to. To write a novel is functioning as a noun, as the object in a sentence. Number 2, they are going to run around the block. That's an interesting case. Infinitive, of course, is to run, and the whole thing is functioning like an adverb. Number 3, I have some jeans to wash. Okay, to wash is the infinitive, and it's functioning like an adjective because it describes the jeans. It's not the new jeans you just bought. It's not the nice clean jeans in the shelf of your closet. These are some jeans that need to be washed. So it describes, to wash describes those jeans like an adjective. I wanted to cook dinner for my parents. To cook dinner for my parents functions as a noun. It tells what the person wanted to do. To fly an airplane is a dream of mine. To fly an airplane is an infinitive phrase. To fly is the simple infinitive to. You see the to there. It is a dream of mine, and it's a noun functioning as a subject. To make cookies, you must add flour. To make cookies, functioning as an adverb. I like to run. This is an example of an infinitive functioning as a noun and more specifically as an object. Let's now look at participles and in some cases participial phrases. All the examples that I'm going to give you are functioning as adjectives. Number 1, knocking at the door. He demanded admission. Knocking is the participle. Participial phrase is knocking at the door. That whole thing describes the pronoun he. He was knocking at the door. We met a girl carrying a basket full of vegetables. And it's not just any girl walking down the street. It happens to be the girl carrying a basket of vegetables. So that again is an adjective that tells us which girl that we met. Number 3, it was a long, boring flight. We were on an airplane flight to China. I guess it was boring. In any event, boring is a participle. It's functioning as an adjective, and it describes the flight. It was a boring flight. His tattered coat needs mending. Remember, we can add ing ending or an ed ending in some cases. You can say his tattered coat, that's his, kind of coat is beat up. His tattered coat needs mending. And tattered is the participle, and it describes coat, so it is functioning as an adjective. Hearing a loud noise, the boy woke up. Here's a participial phrase. The participle is the verb ing. The whole thing, hearing a loud noise, describes the boy. Since it's describing as an adjective, it is a participle or a participial phrase in this case. Barking dogs seldom bite. Bark is the verb ing, makes it a participle, and it is functioning as an adjective to describe dogs. So it is a participle in this case. Here's a learned man. Remember, we can add ings, or in some cases we can add an ed to take a verb and change it into an adjective. And that's what we've got here, the ed. The learned is the participle, and it describes man. So let's look at some examples here and see if we can identify the underlying part of speech. Look at number 1. It says, the thief arrested for the robbery shot at the guard. Arrested. We have an ed ending here. There's no to, so we can forget about infinitive. And it's not functioning as a noun, so forget about gerund. That is a participle. Arrest is a participle. You see the ed ending. And it is a participle, and it describes the thief. So which thief? The flag waving in the wind is inspirational. Oh, waving in the wind. Here's an ing. This looks like a participle also, because it describes which flag we're talking about. Oh, it's the flag waving in the wind. We don't see it functioning as a gerund. We don't see an infinitive because it doesn't have the word to. Let's look at number 3. They are sure extra planning will help. This is interesting. They are sure. They're sure of what? Well, they're sure about planning. That's not describing anything. It tells you, it functions like a noun. I'd say that's a gerund. They are sure extra planning will help. That's A. Number 4. He was determined to win the race. Dead giveaway, infinitive. To win. Marion left a confusing message. Looks to me like it is a participle because it's functioning like an adjective. A confusing message is a verb with the ing ending, and it describes the message. So I think B, participle, is the right answer. Let's pick up where we left off on sentence number 6. The politicians' broken promises were all the voters remembered. Well, that is broken is got the an en as the ending. It is a functioning like an adjective because it's describing those promises. It's not a gerund because gerund functions like a noun, and it's not an infinitive. So participle is what we have here. Next one, number 7, delighted with the opportunity to learn. Christine took the internship in New York. She was delighted with the opportunity to learn. This whole thing, delighted with it, describes Christine. And I would say that that is a participle phrase, actually. Because the with the opportunity to learn makes it into a phrase. Number 8, reading was Oren's hobby. What is reading? Well, there's an action verb, the ing ending, and interestingly, the word reading is the subject of the sentence. Oh, so it's functioning like a noun. What functions like a noun? Gerunds. So that's a gerund. Number 9, the show offers everyone a chance to be a millionaire. Infinitive, you see the to be. Number 10, he found the missing watch. Missing, that is a verbal, you have an ing ending that is functioning as a participle. It describes. Here's a graphic that compares verbals. We see that all verbals, number 1, do not function as verbs, the way we commonly associate action with verbs. They may function as noun, adjective, or adverb. Kind of depends on which one we're talking about. Look at the far left under gerunds. Gerund is a verbal that functions like a noun. So we can say, for example, under the word boil, you look at boiling water, that kind of thing. So we got the ing ending. And the example is, boiling the water is essential. And that's the subject of the sentence, boiling. It's what you're doing. It's the subject of the sentence. Look at participles in the center. We have both present participles and past. And the two examples are, present is ing ending, past tense is ed ending. And in the first example, pass the boiling water. I don't know why somebody would want to say pass boiling anything. It sounds dangerous to me, but still, boiling water, boiling describes water, so it's an adjective. Or you could say something, pass the boiled water. Why? You're making some eggs, boiled eggs? Who knows? I don't know. In any event, pass the boiled water, that's past tense. Third category is infinitives. And here we see the to boil. To has got to be there. It might function like an adverb. It says, heat the pan to boil the water. Or it might function as an adjective. Buy a pan to boil water. And to boil in that case describes the pan. The infinitive might also function as a noun. And look at this sentence. I need to eat something. Oh, I need to eat. It's the object of the sentence. So in any event, these are all the verbals. Participles have an important modifying function in sentences. But you got to be careful that the participles are close to the nouns that they modify. If they are not, you end up with a problem called the dangling participle. Look at number 1. Oozing slowly across the floor, comma, Marvin watched the salad dressing. Now, oozing slowly across the floor is a participial phrase, and it modifies something. Here it looks like it modifies Marvin, because Marvin's the closest noun to it. But Marvin wasn't doing any oozing. He was just standing there looking at it. The salad dressing might have been oozing. So to improve this sentence, we would want to say, Marvin watched as the salad dressing oozed slowly across the floor. That's a little bit clearer. Look at number 2. Waiting for the moon pie. That's a treat, comes out of a machine, I guess. The candy machine began to hum loudly. The way this is written, it looks like the candy machine is waiting for the moon pie. That's not right. It's you or I might have been waiting for the moon pie, but not the candy machine. Candy machine has no thoughts on it at all. Doesn't think. Okay, so we might want to say this. We might want to say, the candy machine began to hum loudly while we were waiting for the moon pie. Make sure that the participial phrase modifies the correct noun. Number 3, coming out of the market, the bananas fell on the pavement. Did the bananas come out of the market, or did you come out of the market? It doesn't look good by saying the bananas. The bananas might have fallen out of your bag and hit the pavement, but you were coming out of the market, and you just happened to be carrying a bag of bananas. So it would be better to say, as I was coming out of the market. My bananas that I just bought fell on the pavement. Or we could say, the bag of bananas fell on the pavement while I was coming out of the market. Something like that. Make sure we know what we're modifying. Number 4, she handed out brownies to the children stored in their plastic containers. Now, that's a silly sentence because it implies that the children were stored in plastic containers. That's not true. The brownies might have been stored in plastic containers, so we're going to have to change that. She handed out brownies which were stored in a plastic container, comma, to the children. Something like that. Let's look at some more. Number 7. Speeding through the tunnel, the station came into view. Oh, I don't think so. Station wasn't going anywhere. Station wasn't speeding. The train might have been speeding, but not the station. You might want to say, as the train was speeding through the tunnel, comma, the station came into view. That's a little bit clearer. Number 8, broken into pieces, I swept up the glass. Oh, were you personally broken into pieces? Do you break that easily? No. So it was the glass that broke, not you. So broken into pieces, we don't want it to modify I right away. We're going to have to change it to say, I swept up the broken pieces of glass. Something like that. Think of another one. I swept up the glass pieces that had just broken, or something like that. Okay, number 9. Forgetting all about class, we enjoyed the beach weather. Actually, this one's okay. Forgetting about the class is a participial phrase, and it modifies the closest pronoun in this case, which is we. And I think it's correct to say, forgetting about the class, we, that's modified correctly, enjoyed the beach weather. So number 9 should be okay the way it is. Let's look at number 10. Making my bed. The stuffed animals were on the floor. Were the animals making your bed for you, or were you making the bed? We want to change that to say, the stuffed animals were on the floor as I was making my bed. Something like that. Number 11. Petting his head. My dog enjoyed my company. Oh, good. Petting his head. Was the dog petting his own head? No. You or I might have been petting his head, but the dog didn't pet his own head. So we might want to say, my dog enjoyed my company because I was petting his head. Or something like that. 12. Wishing for a pony. The farm was a magical place for me. Sounds like a child was saying something like that. A child who had just visited the farm. But let's look what it says. Wishing for a pony, the farm. Oh, wait a minute. The farm was wishing for a pony? Oh, that's what the sentence is. Farmers just don't wish for anything. Farm's just a farm. And because I was wishing, you say it like this, because I was wishing for a pony, the farm was a magical place for me. Why? Because you can see a bunch of ponies or horses or something. Here are some more examples of dangling participles. Look at number 13. Walking through the woods, comma, the trees were magnificent. The problem with that sentence is that the trees don't walk. You or I might have been walking through the woods, but not the trees. So you have to change it. As we were walking through the woods, we noticed that the trees were magnificent. Something like that. Number 14. The snow was freezing our hands, comma, but it was fun to play in. That is actually okay. That is a compound sentence joined by the coordinating conjunction but, and it's okay. There's no dangling participle there. Number 15, reading quickly. The book was too exciting to put down. Problem there is that books don't read. Books just are there. You or I might read. So let's not say that the book was reading quickly. Let's change it to say that because you and I were reading quickly, we felt the book was too exciting to put down. Number 16, I smelled the oysters coming down the stairs for dinner. Problem here is the dangling participle is an indication that the oysters were coming down the stairs. Well, that's not true. You were coming down the stairs. The oysters were just sitting there on the dinner table. So you've got to change that to indicate that you were coming down the stairs for dinner. Number 17, driving down a dark road, a deer suddenly appeared in our path. Now you and I know what the writer means here, that they're on a road and this deer came out in front of the car. But the way the sentence is written, it appears that the deer was driving the car. Deer do not drive. Deer do not have driver's licenses. We have to say something like, while we were driving down a dark road, a deer suddenly appeared. Or we can say, when we were driving down a dark road, a deer suddenly appeared in our path. Make sure we show who is and who is not driving. Well, in conclusion, I should say that if you want to learn more about verbals, you should get a good book on grammar. The book that I recommend is The Only Grammar Book You Will Ever Need by Susan Thurman. The reason is that it's inexpensive. You can get it on eBay for about $4, $3.50 to $4, somewhere around there. I do not get any commission. I don't get any recognition for that at all. I'm simply passing on the information. So that's it about verbals, and I hope to see you next time.